If your worship team utilizes Multitrack's rehearsal mixes, and I highly recommend them, I'm going to share with you today in this video 2 overlooked benefits of using rehearsal mixes. So let's dive behind the scene here. I'm going to show you this. This is multitracks.com. Now, there are other, products that are rehearsal mixes. I'm using multitracks.com just because that's what we utilize at my local church. I believe the Loop community kind of ecosystem has somewhat of the same thing as well. And you could even potentially, in a sense, make rehearsal mixes, although they would be quite hard to make, but there are churches, bigger churches that have lots of resources and stuff that do that as well. If you don't know what they are, rehearsal mixes are basically the audio production of the song with the instrument parts elevated. So your drummer will be able to hear the drums elevated in the mix, for example. So this is the back end of Multitracks here. And this just struck me. I'm going to use this song, Nothing Else. This just struck me this week driving because I was utilizing rehearsal mix just to kind of listen to what the acoustic guitar was playing. And then, man, it struck me like the benefit of just hearing good tone and what a good acoustic guitar sounds like, and then also just hearing what's happening in the overall mix of the song. The one downside I would say is this, and let me flip back to this view here for a second. The one downside of rehearsal mixes is you can tend to get like micro-focused on your part, which is what they're intended to do, right? They're intended to elevate your part so you can hear what's going on. But I think sometimes the downside of that is not forgetting what's happening with all the other instruments, right? What's happening in the overall mix and how your part fits into that. So that's one benefit, but I'm actually going to show you visually how you could see that in rehearsal mixes. And then also we're going to listen for some good tone. So I'm going to kind of put on my dorky headphones here, and then let's flip back over here. And I'm going to use the song Nothing Else because this is what we were using when it struck me this week. I was listening to the recorded acoustic guitar of this. And so I'm going to navigate over here. We were doing, you could do, beauty of rehearsal mixes, you can actually transpose the audio to the keys that you're actually using. I'm going to leave it on the original key because that's the point will work across all the different keys. I'm going to navigate down to the acoustic guitar track.
2.
And you should hear that coming through.
2, 3, 4.
And these are, if you're not familiar, these are what rehearsal mixes are. You got the click and guide and all that stuff. And then you can actually hear what's going on. Now, I'm going to stop it for a second because one thing I want to point out here is even just visually, you could see, right, that the acoustic guitar, there's all this space where the acoustic guitar is not even in on this arrangement of the song. So again, it's kind of maybe even a bonus thing there is, right? You just see visually, because we're talking, if worship leaders, we're talking to our teams all the time about like, man, there's beauty in space and restraint and not just playing your instrument because you have it in your hand, or not just singing because you have a microphone, right? Actually giving the songs a chance to breathe. But you get to see that visually right here. But then, if I skip to where the acoustic guitar comes in, like, man, just listen to this tone.
Chorus 1.
Let me bump that up a little bit. I want you to be able to hear this. But man, you just hear like that is just a great sounding acoustic guitar. And again, I know these are processed tracks and things like that, but it gives us kind of a benchmark to go like, man, okay, how do I shoot for getting that sound, right? And yeah, there's audio processing that goes into that, but you can also hear even just the way that the player, in this case, I don't know if it's Cody Carnes that played this, or if this is somebody else that played the acoustic guitar on this, but man, just the tone that they're getting, the way that they're, even just the attack of the strings and how they're picking, you can just hear it's like it's good tone, right? It's worthy of being emulated, if you will. And so it just struck me like not missing that benefit with rehearsal mixes of just going like, yeah, you're listening for your part, which is the main point of them, but man, the benefit of just going listen for tone as well, right? And we could share that with our worship teams. It's very obvious with like electric guitar, but again, you could go, so if we fast forward here, again, look at this, right? Electric guitar, look at, like, just comes in one part of the song. This is probably the bridge or the instrumental. And again, really neat, you could hear the part, but again, also just for electric players to be able to emulate that tone, you can kind of say to your electric players like, hey, listen to that tone and like try to craft what they're getting with that tone, right? Same thing with keys, you can kind of hear like piano, even like, is it dark, is it bright, things like that, right? Just not missing the benefit of listening for good tone. And then now the second benefit that I shared was just then also like not losing sight of the bigger picture of how your part or how, you know, the people on your team, whether it's a drummer, bass player, vocalists, things like that, how they fit into the overall scope of the arrangement or the mix as a whole. And I love just being able to visually see this. So a benefit of Rehearsal Mix, when you go here and you actually use it in the multitracks platform here, is, for example, if we start the song, right, you can go back to the beginning here. The cool thing is, let me just kind of skip a little bit ahead. The cool thing is if you go, okay, right there, this is the original mix, just like you would listen to it on like Apple Music, Spotify, whatever. Now, if I click over to bass, it'll keep tracking right there in that part of the song. And the reason I'm bringing this up, like we could keep clicking. Like, so for example, if I go down to acoustic now, it's going to keep playing the playhead, and you can kind of skip to each instrument. And visually, the benefit I want to point out here is visually, you can just see like how much space there is in these instruments, right? And how they're making space for one another. So piano, like obviously this is a very piano-driven song. You could see that even visually here, right? You could see the piano is in all the way. This is, even you could see the visual like audio waveform here, right? This is a bigger part of the song. You can kind of see a little bit of the journey in the roller coaster. And then if you just like look through all the different layers, like again, so much space, but then there's these moments of the song where different things are coming in. And it's kind of neat just to be able to like listen to the track and in a sense break the arrangement down, break the track down, and look at all the different layers that are coming in and out to make that dynamic journey of the song. And this is, I just again think a huge benefit of Rehearsal Mix that can be overlooked. You know, the point being, again, Rehearsal Mixes, we get into that kind of myopic view of like, okay, they're just for giving the instrumentalists their part. But I think, man, we could stand to just share with our teams the benefit of like, hey, if you actually go into this here, you could visually see how much space is being left and how the different layers work together and create space for one another, right? And rhythmically, even if we go, you know, went to another song, you could see rhythmically, like if there's a really busy drum part, you probably would notice in the other instruments that maybe they're backing off rhythmically, little tongue twister there, and making space for the other instruments. So again, just huge benefit of this here. If your church uses Multitracks Rehearsal Mix or something like it, I would love for you to leave a comment below and let me know if you've kind of maybe noticed these. Let me know how are you using it. Would love to learn from one another. If there's maybe something else that I'm missing, man, would love to hear from you in the comments. With that, friends, I will see you in the next video. God bless you.